Hello, everybody. So, writing a summary. This is all about making the text smaller but keeping all the key information. So, you don't write it in the same way that it's written. You have to write it in your own words. So, we're going to look at this text about the Titanic, and it's 193 words long. And then I'm going to show you how we make it 85 words long. So, let's begin by reading the text. The Titanic, a new ship, began its trip across the Atlantic Ocean on April the 10th, 1912. It left England to sail to New York. The Titanic was the largest and most beautiful ship in the world at the time. The ship was said to be so safe that it could not sink, yet on the fifth night at sea it hit an iceberg and sank in less than 3 hours. The iceberg was seen just before the crash, but the ship was going too fast to steer away from it. When the ship struck the iceberg, it made a big hole where seawater came quickly. The Titanic did not have enough lifeboats for its 2,200 passengers. In fact, the lifeboats had room for less than half of them. The crew tried to send women and children into the lifeboats first. More than 1,500 people drowned when the Titanic sank. Because of poor radio contact, the Titanic could not get enough help from other ships in time. The Carpathia, another British ship, did get the call for help. It sped through the ice and saved all the people it could find. So you want to do a summary. What do you do first? Well, first of all, you have to think about your main points. Then you need to put those main points in a list and do one sentence for each paragraph. So to look at the main points, I need to go back over the text and I need to decide which words are the most important words. So I would take a highlighter and I would highlight what are the important words that I need to remember. So I'm going to say Titanic and any date because that's important as it wouldn't be there. So April the 10th. For this text, I'm going to say it left England because where it originated is important. I might also identify the word largest because the name of the boat, Titanic, actually means really large. So I'm not going to highlight the word beautiful because I think the fact that it's largest is most important. But I am going to mention ship in the world because it was the largest ship in the world at the time. So for the next paragraph, I need to think about what's really important. Well, I think it was really important that people believed the Titanic could not sink. So I'm going to highlight that. And then when did it happen? Well, I think I'm going to highlight all of that bit. It was the fifth night at sea. And why did it happen? I'm going to highlight it hit an iceberg. And then what happened is what I'm going to look for next. So I'm just going to highlight that word sank. It sank. And then I'm going to move on to the next paragraph and I'm going to think about what's important there. It was important that it didn't have enough lifeboats. So I'm going to highlight the section, it didn't have enough lifeboats. And what about how many passengers there were? That number might be important. So let's highlight that. Then I'm thinking about at the time, the women and children were the important people to get off the Titanic. So I'm going to highlight that section, women and children, and use the word first because that tells me what's happening in order. And then I'm going to highlight what happened to a number of other people, and more than 1,500 people drowned. So I'm going to highlight that bit of information. And when we get onto the final paragraph, I'm looking at the fact that there was poor radio contact. Okay, so because there was poor radio contact, It meant that the Titanic couldn't get the help that it needed, but I'm actually going to move straight to the Carpathia, which was a boat that heard the information. And I'm not going to mention all about other help, because you know that radio contact, from that radio contact, you're inferring the idea that other ships needed to hear that call. And then I'm going to use the word help, because that's really important. And the fact that the Carpathia saved all the people it could find, I'm going to summarize that to just saved. So it saved people, because that means I can reduce the number of words that I've used. And when I've done that, I have to take those facts and write them into a list. So here are the sentences that I came up with. You might come up with something different. So my sentences became: the Titanic, the largest ship in the world, left England on April the 10th, 1912. People believed the ship was unsinkable, but on the fifth night it hit an iceberg and sank. Women and children were put on the lifeboats first because there weren't enough lifeboats for the 2,200 passengers, meaning 1,500 people drowned. Despite poor radio contact, the Carpathia heard the SOS and helped save some people. So now I've used 67 of my 85 words, but I haven't finished yet, because I haven't completed the summary yet, and I need to think about the next stage. Now that you've written your summary sentences, you have to reflect back on the text and check that you've included everything that you've needed to. Now, if I look at my summary sentences, I'm really happy with them, except I've discovered that here I've written 1,500 people drowned, but that's not what was written in the text, is it? Let's have a look. So more than 1,500 people drowned. So I need to add those two words to my information to be accurate. More than 1,500 people drowned. And so I now need to add those two words to my total number of words. So I've got 69 words, and I'm happy with that. So now the next thing I have to do is write a single sentence. So I have to write a single sentence that covers the whole of the text, that really identifies what my summary is really about. And my sentence is 19 words long, and it's: the Titanic hit an iceberg and sank on April the 12th, 1912, during its maiden voyage from Britain to New York. So I'm going to add that 19 words to my 69 words. So 60 add 10 is 70. 9 add 9 is 18. That's 88 words. And if I look at the top, I've been asked to write a summary that is 85 words long, but I have a little bit of wriggle room there, so that number will be fine. The next stage, when you've written your summary sentences and a single sentence that covers all of it, you've got to put that all together, and that's what creates your summary. So are you ready? Let's have a look at how that works. We're going to begin with the overall single sentence and follow it with the paragraph summary sentences. So I'm going to begin by taking the 18-word summary of the paragraph and beginning my paragraph with this. So remember, we've written lists of sentences, but now what we have to do is actually take those sentences and create a paragraph. So I need to go back to the sentences that I wrote, and I'm going to copy each one of those sentences. If you're writing, you're going to have to do this with your writing, and that's why it's easier if you use a computer and you can copy and paste. So the next section that I needed: people believed the ship was unsinkable. And now I'm building up my sentences. They're not in a list anymore. I'm creating a paragraph. And because I started with the first overall sentence, that becomes my topic sentence. So now I need the next section. After the people believed, I'm on women and children. I'm going to copy that. And I'm almost done doing my summary paragraph now, but I'm not finished in terms of how I write a summary. There's one more step. So let's finish with the final sentence that I wrote. Remember, these are the summary sentences you're putting together. And then when you've actually done that, remembering that for me it's copy and paste, for you it might be writing on your text. And when you have all of those sentences together, you've got a paragraph that summarizes the text. So the final stage is to work out, are you happy with your paragraph? Is it concise enough? Has it got the correct number of words? Is it cohesive enough? Have you fit it all together? Do you need to change any of those words around? And does it summarize the whole text? Well, I think we've ended up here with a paragraph that does all of those things. So we're going to finish by reading that paragraph. During its maiden voyage to New York on April the 12th, 1912, the Titanic hit an iceberg and sank. The Titanic, the largest ship in the world, left England on April the 10th, 1912. People believed the ship was unsinkable, but on the fifth night it hit an iceberg and sank. Women and children were put into the lifeboats first because there weren't enough lifeboats for the 2,200 passengers, meaning more than 1,500 people drowned. Despite poor radio contact, the Carpathia heard the SOS and helped save some people. Well, you need to read through because that's how you find there's an error. And I can see here when I read women and children were put onto the lifeboats first, I needed to double check, do I need into or onto? And yes, I did need onto. I did need to use onto. So that's your summary, and make sure you practice those steps to create your own summaries.